Before anything else, pause, take one deep breath, and ask yourself a question most people spend their entire life avoiding. What am I doing today that brings me closer to the life I say I want? Because here's the truth. Dreams don't just appear. Success doesn't magically arrive. Breakthroughs don't fall from the sky. Every great destiny ever written was carved by hands that chose discipline over comfort, consistency over excuses, and purpose over fear. This is your reminder that you were never created for an average life. You were created for a life built with intention. A life you are proud to wake up to. A life that reflects who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. But nothing changes until you do. Listen carefully. A dream without action is just a wish. A goal without effort is just a fantasy. And potential without work becomes regret. Every time you say one day, you push your dream further away. Every time you say tomorrow, you hand your future over to fear. But every time you take one small step, one simple, imperfect step, you send a message to life that you are ready. Ready to grow. Ready to evolve. Ready to claim what is already yours. So let me ask you, what would happen if you finally stopped running from the work? What would happen if you stopped waiting for motivation and started building discipline? What would happen if you gave yourself permission to begin right now, right where you are? Maybe the dream looks big. Maybe the mountain feels high. Maybe the path seems long. But the truth is, every mountain is climbed one step at a time. Every success story begins with a single decision. I will no longer accept a life that does not honor my potential. And yes, the work will be hard. Yes, you will feel tired. Yes, you will face doubt, fear, uncertainty, and moments where you question everything. But those moments are not signs to stop. They are signs that you are growing. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the birthplace of transformation. Think about this. You already know how it feels to procrastinate. You already know how it feels to stay stuck. You already know how it feels to ignore your dream. So why not find out how it feels to win? Why not find out how it feels to look in the mirror and finally recognize the person you were meant to be? Your dream is not waiting for the perfect moment. It's waiting for you. Your dream doesn't need more planning. It needs courage. Your dream doesn't need more talking. It needs action. Your future self is calling, begging you not to quit, not to settle, not to shrink yourself to fit inside a life that is too small for your soul. You owe it to that future version of you, the one who's stronger, wiser, and free to begin the work today. But hear me clearly, you're not just building a dream, you're building character, you're building discipline, you're building habits. You're building a mindset that no storm can break. And that, more than the dream itself, is what creates a life worth living. So rise, show up, even on the days you don't feel like it. Especially on the days you don't feel like it. Because consistency is the bridge between who you are now and who you are destined to become. And remember this, the dream will test you before it blesses you. The work will feel heavy before it feels natural. The path will feel unclear before it feels rewarding. But every step, every sacrifice, every late night, every early morning, it's all shaping you into a person capable of holding the success you're asking for. So let today be the day you draw a line in the sand. The day you say, enough waiting, enough doubting, enough hesitating. The day you decide to build not just a dream, but a life you are proud of. Because listen, your dream is not impossible. Your dream is not out of reach. Your dream is not for other people. Your dream is simply waiting for you to do the work that aligns with its greatness. Now stand tall, breathe deep, step forward, and hear this prophetic declaration over your life. Everything you are working for will come to you. Every seed you plant with discipline will grow. Every effort you make will multiply. And the life you are building step by step, day by day, will rise into a future filled with purpose, abundance, and peace. Your dreams will work. When you do, there comes a moment in every person's life when the noise around them becomes too loud to ignore, when the quiet dissatisfaction inside their chest grows heavier than the excuses they've been holding onto. That moment is the awakening, the point where you stop pretending that you're satisfied with a life that doesn't reflect your true potential. It's the moment you finally look in the mirror and admit, not out of shame but out of truth, that you were made for more. And maybe you've felt it lately, that gentle pull in your spirit, that whisper that keeps returning no matter how much you try to silence it. What if that whisper is not random? What if it's your destiny trying to get your attention? What if the life you want is already calling your name, waiting for you to listen? Think about the feeling you get when you imagine the life you truly desire. Notice how your heart moves differently. Notice how your mind becomes filled with possibilities instead of limitations. That feeling isn't illusion, it's direction. It's a sign that deep down, you know you were never designed for mediocrity. You were created with a specific strength, a unique calling, and a purpose that only you can fulfill. But purpose doesn't come alive until you recognize it. Too many people sleepwalk through their days, repeating routines that lead nowhere, accepting a version of life that keeps them comfortable but never fulfilled. Ask yourself, when did comfort replace ambition? When did routine replace vision? When did surviving become more normal than living? The awakening begins the moment you stop lying to yourself about what you truly want. It begins the moment you stop telling yourself, it's too late, or I don't have what it takes, or maybe this is all I get. Imagine what would change if, instead of doubting your potential, you began questioning your limitation. Imagine what could shift if you asked yourself, what if I'm capable of more than I've allowed myself to believe? Because you are. You always have been. You simply forgot. Life demanded too much. People expected too little. And somewhere along the way, your spark dimmed, not because it died, but because it was never fed. And here's the truth most people avoid. Awareness is uncomfortable. When you begin to see how much of your life is built on autopilot, it stings. When you realize how long you've allowed fear, distraction, or other people's opinions to steer your choices, it hurts. But that discomfort is not punishment. It's invitation. It's the doorway to a stronger version of you. A version who refuses to settle. Every time your chest tightens, thinking about the life you should be living, that's your spirit waking up. Every time you feel restless, even when everything seems fine, that's your destiny reminding you that fine is not what you were born for. So let me ask you something. What would your life look like if you stopped holding back? What parts of you are waiting to be expressed, strengthened, or unleashed? What dreams have you buried because you convinced yourself they were too big? You don't awaken by accident. You awaken by choice. You awaken the moment you decide that the life inside you is more real than the limits around you. And once a person wakes up to who they can be, the world can never make them small again. Action is the bridge between the life you imagine and the life you actually live. You can dream as big as the sky. You can visualize every detail of your future. You can feel the fire of ambition burning in your chest. But until your actions match your desires, nothing changes. Dreams demand something from you. They demand movement, discipline, consistency, and a willingness to show up even when motivation disappears. And that's the part most people struggle with, not the dreaming, but the doing. So ask yourself honestly, are your daily actions building your dream or delaying it? Are you moving with purpose, or just hoping things will get better on their own? When you decide to take action, you immediately separate yourself from the masses. Most people want success, but only a few are willing to do the quiet, unglamorous work that success is built on. Discipline is never loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's the early mornings when no one is watching, the late nights when everyone else is resting, the small decisions that seem insignificant but shape your entire trajectory. People love results, but they avoid the routine required to create them. Yet here's the truth, your routine is your destiny. What you do consistently shapes who you become permanently. If your habits are weak, your outcomes will be weak. If your habits are strong, your future will be strong. Every choice either strengthens your dream or steals from it. There comes a point where you must decide whether you're committed to your comfort or committed to your calling. Comfort keeps you still. Calling pushes you forward. Comfort whispers, rest a little longer, while calling whispers, rise. You're capable of more. Which voice will you obey? Because every time you choose action over excuses, you gain momentum. And momentum is powerful. It makes discipline easier, progress faster, and confidence stronger. But momentum only begins when you take the first step. Even if the step is small, don't underestimate what a single, consistent action can do. 1 page written a day becomes a book. 1 workout a day becomes a transformation. 1 hour of learning a day becomes mastery. The question is, What are you willing to commit to daily? The biggest myth about discipline is that it requires constant motivation. It doesn't. It requires clarity. When you know exactly what you want and why it matters, taking action becomes less about feeling inspired and more about honoring your future. So what is the reason behind your dream? What future are you trying to build? Who are you trying to become? When your why becomes stronger than your excuses, action becomes natural. But if your reasons are weak, the smallest obstacle will break you. That's why you must anchor your dream in meaning, not in emotion. Another truth people avoid is this: action exposes what you really believe about yourself. If you believe you're capable, you act boldly. If you believe you're unworthy, you hold back. So pay attention to the way you move. Your actions reveal your inner stories. What story are you telling yourself each morning? What identity are you reinforcing? Are you acting like someone destined to succeed, or someone waiting for permission? Because no permission is coming. No perfect moment is coming. No magical sign is coming. Your dream is waiting on you, not the other way around. And this is the part many never understand. Discipline is a form of self-respect. Every time you show up for your dream, you prove to yourself that your future matters. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you strengthen the trust you have in your own ability. You stop being someone who talks about change and become someone who creates it. Imagine how your life would shift if you simply did the work you already know you should be doing. Imagine the pride, the growth, the momentum that would come from just starting and then staying consistent. The life you want is not built in giant leaps. It's built in daily steps, small, steady, intentional steps that accumulate into greatness. And the moment you choose discipline over delay, your dream begins to breathe. Every dream worth pursuing comes with resistance. And that resistance doesn't come from the world. First, it comes from within. The moment you decide to rise, your fears rise with you. The moment you choose progress, your doubts start arguing. The moment you say, I want more, your mind whispers, but what if you fail? And this inner conflict can be so loud, so convincing, that countless people quit before they even begin. But stop and think, how many opportunities have you lost because you believed the voice of fear instead of the voice of your future? How many dreams have you delayed, not because you weren't capable, but because you were scared of being seen trying? Fear is not a sign that you're unprepared. Fear is a sign that you're stepping into territory you've never walked before. Anything unfamiliar feels uncomfortable, and anything meaningful feels intimidating. But ask yourself, what if the fear you feel right now is simply proof that you're on the edge of transformation? What if the very things you're scared to face are the same things standing between you and your breakthrough? Every person you admire has felt fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The difference is, they moved anyway. They acted while afraid. They stepped forward while shaking. They understood that waiting for fear to disappear is the fastest way to waste a lifetime. Doubt is another quiet thief. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It makes you question your abilities, your timing, your purpose, and sometimes even your worth. Doubt convinces you to lower your standards, shrink your dreams, or stay exactly where you are, because what if it doesn't work? But consider this. What if it does work? What if the risk you're scared to take is the very thing that changes everything? What if the path you keep avoiding is the path that leads to the life you've been praying for? Doubt will always ask, who do you think you are? But courage responds, I am becoming who I was meant to be. And then there's delay, the quiet, seductive trap that feels harmless but steals more dreams than failure ever will. Delay sounds like, I'll start tomorrow, I'm not ready yet, it's not the right time, or I'll begin when things are perfect. But perfection is an illusion, and waiting for the perfect moment is choosing to stay stuck. How many times have you told yourself you'll begin next week, only to find that next week turns into next month, and next month turns into another forgotten dream? Delay is dangerous because it feels safe. It makes you believe you still have time, while silently taking that time away. So here's the question you need to confront honestly. What are you afraid of losing, your comfort or your destiny? Because you can't have both. Growth demands discomfort. Progress demands courage. Every time you challenge your fear, it weakens. Every time you act despite doubt, you strengthen your identity. Every time you move instead of delay, you reclaim control over your life. You don't need to eliminate fear to succeed. You only need to stop letting fear make your decision. You don't need to erase doubt to move forward. You just need to recognize that doubt is part of becoming someone stronger. And you don't need perfect timing. You need commitment. Imagine who you would become if you stopped negotiating with fear. Imagine the momentum you'd build if you refused to let doubt dictate your choices. Imagine the progress you'd make if you no longer allowed delay to steal your potential. What would your life look like if you decided that fear is not a wall but a doorway? What would shift if you finally understood that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the refusal to be controlled by it? The truth is, your fears are loud because your destiny is greater. Your doubts are heavy because your potential is powerful. And your delays feel comfortable because your dreams require a stronger, more disciplined, more focused version of you. The moment you face what you've been avoiding, everything changes. And the moment you stop letting fear, doubt, and delay run your life, your dream begins to run toward you. Becoming the person your dream requires is not just about achieving outward success. It's about developing the inner strength, clarity, and maturity needed to sustain the life you're reaching for. Every meaningful dream is designed to stretch you, shape you, and elevate you into someone stronger than you were before. And this is where most people get stuck. They want the results without becoming the type of person who can carry those results. They want abundance without discipline, recognition without resilience, progress without patience. But life doesn't work that way. Growth is not a punishment, it's preparation. So ask yourself, who do you need to become to hold the future you're asking for? Your dream will always demand a higher version of you. It will push you toward better habits, better thinking, and better decisions. It will require you to let go of the old patterns that kept you small. Think about the behaviors you know you need to release. The procrastination, the inconsistency, the self-doubt, the distractions, the emotional reactions that drain your energy. What would happen if you finally removed the things that sabotage your progress? What would change if you stopped carrying the version of yourself that no longer aligns with your future? Transformation begins the moment you choose identity over comfort. Your routines shape your reality, but your identity shapes your routines. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will avoid effort. If you see yourself as someone who isn't capable, you will hesitate. But if you begin to see yourself as someone powerful, disciplined, focused, and deserving, your actions will naturally shift. The question is, what identity are you feeding? Every day, you are training your mind to believe something about who you are. Are you training it to believe in your limitations or your potential? Your dream requires a mindset grounded in possibility, not fear. A mindset that sees challenges as growth, not as threats. A mindset that chooses responsibility over excuses. And then comes character, the foundation that determines how far you can truly go. Your dream may open doors, but your character determines whether you stay in the room. Integrity, discipline, emotional control, consistency, humility, these are not optional. They are the traits that elevate you from hoping to becoming. They turn talent into mastery, desire into determination, and effort into excellence. Ask yourself, are you building the character that your future requires? If success came tomorrow, would you be ready to hold it? Or would it slip through your fingers because your foundation wasn't strong enough? Becoming the person your dream requires also means raising your standards. Not just the standards of what you want, but the standards of what you tolerate from yourself. Too many people lower their expectations to match their habits, instead of raising their habits to match their expectations. What would your life look like if you decided that half effort is no longer acceptable? What shifts would happen if you refused to settle for anything less than alignment with your purpose? Every great future begins with a decision. I will no longer shrink to fit into my past. And let's talk about emotional strength, the part of growth most people overlook. You will face setbacks. You will face silence. You will face criticism, confusion, and seasons where nothing seems to be working. But emotional maturity means not quitting when the process becomes uncomfortable. It means staying grounded when life becomes unpredictable. It means trusting your direction even when you can't see the entire path. Your dream doesn't just require effort, it requires emotional resilience. The kind that refuses to crumble when pressure increases. The kind that knows growth always feels like resistance before it feels like reward. So think deeply, who do you need to become for your dream to thrive in your hands? What parts of yourself need strengthening? What patterns need breaking? What beliefs need rewriting? Your future is not waiting for a better opportunity, it's waiting for a stronger you. The moment you rise into that version, the dream that once felt far away begins to move closer. because you finally become the person capable of holding it. Growth has a way of revealing who you truly are, not through comfort, but through challenge. The process of becoming better will always cost you something: your old habits, your old excuses, your old limitations, sometimes even the old version of yourself. And that cost can feel heavy. But compare that heaviness to the weight of regret, the kind that comes years later when you realize you stayed the same because you were afraid to stretch. Which weight would you rather carry? One leads to transformation. The other leads to a future filled with unanswered potential. The pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of regret can last a lifetime. So the real question is, what pain are you choosing? Every person who has ever built something meaningful has walked through seasons where quitting felt easier than continuing. You will face days when your progress feels invisible, when your effort seems unnoticed, when your motivation drops and the work feels endless. Those are the moments that shape you the most. They teach you resilience. They teach you patience. They teach you to rely not on emotion but on commitment. When everything in you wants to stop, but you choose to keep going, you create a version of yourself that becomes unstoppable. What would your future look like if you mastered the art of continuing even when you don't feel like it? Persistence is not loud or dramatic, it's steady. It's the repetition of small actions done with consistency and intention. And yes, those small actions can feel boring, repetitive, or even insignificant. But think about the alternative: staying exactly where you are, staying stagnant, watching others move forward while you remain stuck. Which outcome is harder to live with? Sometimes the real battle is not against failure, but against the slow, quiet pull of giving up. The voice that says, "It's not working, this is too hard, or maybe this isn't for me." But what if it is for you? What if you're closer than you think? What if the breakthrough you're waiting for is one step past the point where most people quit? There's a truth about growth that many never understand. Struggle is not a sign to stop, it's a sign that you're leveling up. Pressure creates strength. Resistance creates capability. Challenges sharpen your endurance, refine your thinking, and teach you how to stay steady even when life feels unstable. Think about a muscle. It only grows when it is pushed beyond its comfort zone. Your character is no different. Every difficulty you push through expands your capacity for the future you're building. So instead of asking, "Why is this so hard?" start asking, "What is this teaching me? How is this shaping me? Who am I becoming because of this?" Your dream is not fragile. It's not made of glass. It's made of fire that strengthens you, fire that purifies your intention, fire that burns away the parts of you that aren't aligned with your purpose. But fire also demands endurance. It demands that you don't run when the process becomes intense. Imagine how your life would change if you trusted the process instead of fearing it. Imagine the pride you'd feel looking back, knowing you didn't quit when it was difficult, knowing you pushed through moments that would have broken the old version of you. And here's something most people never realize: persistence is also spiritual. It's a declaration that you believe your future is worth fighting for. It's evidence that you trust in something bigger than your current struggle. When you persist, you're not just pushing through challenges, you're aligning with the destiny that's meant for you. So ask yourself right now, what would your life look like if you refused to give up? What kind of confidence, strength, and wisdom would you gain? What doors would open if you simply kept walking? The pain of growth will pass. The pressure you feel today will become the strength you rely on tomorrow. But the reward of persistence, the pride, the transformation, the fulfillment of knowing you didn't quit, that reward will stay with you for the rest of your life. A powerful future is never an accident. It is the natural harvest of every disciplined step, every quiet sacrifice, every moment you refuse to settle for less than the life you were capable of living. The future you're dreaming of isn't random. It's the direct result of the choices you make today. And there comes a moment when you begin to feel it, a stirring in your spirit, a sense that something greater is forming ahead of you. It's the realization that all the work, all the waiting, all the late night and early mornings, all the battles with fear and doubt were not wasted. They were building something. They were shaping you for a life you can finally be proud of. What if the season you're stepping into is the one where everything starts to align because you finally became aligned? Imagine waking up one day and realizing you are living inside the life you once used to pray for. Imagine seeing the evidence of your effort reflected in your habits, your opportunities, your confidence, your stability. Imagine carrying the quiet strength of someone who knows they earned every part of the life they have. That's what happens when preparation meets purpose. That's what happens when perseverance meets timing. So ask yourself, what future are you preparing to meet? What kind of life are you silently building with your daily actions? A life you're proud of isn't built on luck. It's built on intention. It's built on the decisions most people avoid, the responsibilities most people ignore, and the discipline most people abandon. It's built when you stop waiting for blessings to arrive and start becoming the person who can hold them. Think about the areas of your life where you desire growth: your mindset, your relationships, your finances, your spiritual foundation. Now imagine each of those areas strengthening because you finally chose to show up with consistency instead of wishful thinking. What kind of pride would rise in you if you finally saw yourself taking the steps you always knew were necessary? There's a reason the future feels distant at times. It's not because it's out of reach. It's because the version of you who can hold that future is still being shaped. Your dream life won't be handed to the version of you who doubts, delays, or hides from responsibility. It will be given to the version of you who showed grit, patience, and integrity when no one was watching. That's why certain doors haven't opened yet, not because you're unworthy, but because you're still forming the strength needed to walk through them. So the real question becomes, who are you becoming right now that your future will thank you for? The beauty of a prophetic future is that it grows as you grow. The more you invest in yourself, the clearer the path becomes. The more you commit to your purpose, the louder your calling becomes. The more you discipline your actions, the more your future expands. And one day, the very things that felt hard, painful, or uncertain will become the testimony of how you rose. You'll look back at the valleys you walked through and realize they were shaping the voice, the heart, and the resilience of someone destined to rise higher. And there comes a moment, one defining moment, when you stop questioning whether your dreams are possible and start realizing they were always meant for you. When you stop wondering if the work is worth it and start seeing the results of that work unfolding in front of you. When you stop doubting your path and start recognizing the divine alignment in every step you took. That moment is coming. And when it does, the life you step into will feel less like something you reached for and more like something you were always meant to claim. Because a life you're proud of isn't just your reward, it's your destiny. It's the future waiting for the version of you who finally decided to rise. And starting today, you will.